Hello, folks. Thank you for joining us once again for another one of these. It's Pierre the Chef. I'm Steve, joined as always by my buddy Christopher. How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah, this is not the question that I normally ask, but I have to
Uh-huh.
ask it today because I have not heard anything. Where's Pierre?
Oh, Pierre, yes.
You have heard
Actually,
from
I
him?
have good. I've heard from him. I have good news. He's going to be here.
He is.
Yeah, he's going to be a little late. He's joining me in person. He's going to be actually. I'm
Really?
going to do one of these, and he's going to be here on my webcam with me.
Oh, cool.
He's coming in.
Unless Stuffy gets not Stuffy, Toby gets so pissed off and chases him. But
like happened to you that time. No, he's coming through. I think he was doing something in Ohio or something. He was like
it's taking
opening a
70 in.
yeah, he's taking 70 in. He's west of here in
Oh,
Ohio. He's coming through, and he promises me he'll be here during the show, hopefully before too long. He sounded like he wasn't too far away when he texted me earlier. So what I would like to do, and I know this is a little sort of off format because we do have a great topic for the show this week, but and I really want Pierre to be here for that. So maybe we could just sort of do like a we'll just do sort of random topics from the news or just talk about whatever is happening right now.
well, there's certainly enough current events to talk about. Yeah,
Yeah,
that works.
we'll just stall until Pierre gets here. Then we'll talk about the real topic.
That's a plan, and
Cool.
I think it's a good one.
Okay, well,
Or at least
excellent.
it's not for us. We're not. This isn't top of the world here, but we're not like
Yeah,
network broadcast. It's just we
yeah,
can improvise.
exactly, because we're smart.
Letterman improvised all the time.
Yeah, and look where it got him. He was king of late night for what, 35 years.
Yeah. Now he's
So
happily retired.
yeah.
Got a beard probably longer than I am tall now.
Exactly. So yeah, so I guess I mean, to sort of to execute a hard right angle tonal shift. I guess the big story that people are still talking about in the last week or so is the Las Vegas shooting, and they even referenced it on Saturday Night Live last night, where they had Jason Aldean, who was one of the singers at the country music festival where the shooting took place, show up on Saturday Night Live and sing a Tom Petty song, which was a nice sort of blending of two recent sad events. And although I didn't notice actually, I was watching it with my wife, and as we were watching that song, she turned to me and she said, modern country music was one of the things Tom Petty hated. Which I just was like, perfect. But anyway.
Didn't he say something about one of his regrets is wearing like Confederate flags earlier in his career?
Yeah, I was impressed. I was impressed by that. Yeah, he said, and he basically said what a lot of us say, which is, just get over it, just give it up. Like, it doesn't matter what it meant to you as a kid. It hurts people. It symbolizes awful things. Just put it down,
And I hate to point this out, but we're already off topic because we're talking about Las Vegas, and all we've talked about so far is Tom Petty.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those topics where talking about the death of a beloved rock star is actually less depressing than talking about what happened in Las Vegas.
Modern America, we're exceptional.
Yeah. As the Onion says, after every time this happens, no way to prevent this. Says only country where this happens regularly.
Yes. It's become almost meta. They take the same story, they just change the locations and the date and the casualty numbers, and
that's exactly what they do.
Same story.
Yeah.
So how long are we spending roughly on each topic here, since we're sort of improvising?
Well, I figure let's give Pierre 15 minutes or so, and
all right,
we'll see where he's at.
Do you have your own timer for that, or
I'm just going to look at the clock.
Oh, you're not even going to time it?
I'm just going to be like, it's quarter after. Let's see where Pierre's at.
So a 5-minute timer and a 15-minute timer at the same time is beyond our technical capabilities at this point.
You know what? If you really, I can set a 15-minute timer. No, you mentioned it. You said it. So you know what? I will.
We have the technology.
We have the capability to make the world's first bionic man.
I make only one request. If this is the same time, you're just changing the amount. please, 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 for the love of God, remember to switch it back to 5 minutes before we discuss Trump, because I don't want to do 15 minutes of Trump.
That's a great point. Yeah. Okay. So I switched it to 15 minutes and I hit start. So let's talk about the Las Vegas shooting.
Las Vegas, yes. Well, I'm wondering how the anytime this happens, the NRA crawls into their hole and hides for about a week.
Yeah.
One of the common refrains that we hear is, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Try to imagine if everybody in that crowd was armed and started shooting back at the 32nd floor of that hotel.
Exactly.
I'm not seeing that as necessarily being an improvement, especially to the person who had the room next to the shooter.
Yeah, and I mean, and when something specifically like the Vegas shooting happens, where the shooter was in a vantage point, he wasn't like just standing there walking through the crowd, shooting people. He was taking aim from a relatively safe place. That good guy with a gun horse shit falls apart immediately.
Yeah, especially since I read not long after this, they're saying that the typical range of accuracy with a handgun is about 25 yards.
Yeah.
So 75 feet. So 75 feet versus 32nd floor, unless each floor is only about 2.5 feet, they're pretty much out of range.
Yeah, you're going to be lucky to hit a guy on the 32nd floor of a hotel from the street with a handgun. It's just not going to happen.
You'll be lucky to hit the 32nd floor.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be lucky to hit the building.
Yeah.
It'll just, yeah, it's ridiculous. But we tell ourselves these fantasies, we're Americans and everybody's the hero of their own story. And we're even the hero of stories that didn't happen, but we imagined that they would have gone this way if they had happened. Like, boy, if I had been there and I had old Betsy on my hip, I would have taken care of that real quick.
I am so tired of hearing that one. If I was there, if you were there, you would have been panicking, running, just like everyone else. Everyone wants to believe they would have been the one to make a difference. And I've heard that on so many things. Like if, the shooter in Aurora, I heard they say, why didn't someone just, if I had been there, I would have just tackled him. With Jerry Sandusky being at Penn State, so he said, if I had been there, said Mike McCurry, there wouldn't have been any more issues because I would have beat him. No, you wouldn't have.
Yeah, you might hope so, but you don't know. You probably wouldn't have. Right. I mean,
I'm sure the people who were involved in those situations thought the same things themselves before they found themselves in a situation like that. Everyone wants to believe they would be the one person who would have made a difference and handled it correctly with the 20/20 hindsight that they have when they're saying that.
Yeah, exactly. And the beauty of it is it's completely unfalsifiable because you weren't there. It already happened. So you can go on believing that if you want. Like, oh, no, I would have totally done it. What it makes me think of is Flight 93 during 9/11 when all those passengers rose up and wrestled control of the plane away from the hijackers. Of course, it ended, tragically. But the reason why we think of those people as heroes is because that's not the normal response to that situation. It's not even necessarily the smartest response. It's incredibly brave.
Yes, but when they had cell phones, they heard from the ground, they knew what was happening, and they had every reason to believe they were on a suicide run, so there wasn't really anything to lose at that point.
It was an extraordinary situation, and the people behaved extraordinarily. That's why we remember that story so vividly.
But with context, they knew what was going on, and they were able to respond. If they were the only flight, they probably would not have reacted that way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an incredibly rare thing. Like, people just don't behave that way in those kinds of situations. And for the most part, that's a good thing. Like, if you're in a crowded plaza and you hear gunshots and you see people in your vicinity being hit by bullets, the right thing to do is to run away, not to pull your gun and start looking for the shooter. The right thing to do is to run away.
Especially because then the police show up, they're looking for a shooter, and you're standing there with a gun shooting. That's not good for you.
No.
I remember things about police who are chasing a suspect, and then some helpful person opened fire at the suspect, and the police had to dive for cover because they didn't know what was going on, and the person gets away because helpful, untrained person with a gun starts firing.
Yeah, and the other that's another good point is that all you're really going to do, unless you get extremely lucky and take out the shooter with your first couple of shots, which is almost certainly not going to happen. All you're doing is adding to the chaos of an already chaotic situation. I mean, think about this. Think of how horrifying it must have been. You're in a public plaza in a city. You're surrounded by tall buildings and open space, sort of in this well, sound echoing everywhere, music playing, people all around yelling and cheering and whatever and singing along. All of a sudden you hear gunshots. You probably, if you're down at the bottom, you probably have no idea where the gunshots are coming from. All you hear is just
recognize their gunshots at first until you start hearing people screaming.
Yeah, all you hear is just loudness and reverberation, and you have no idea what's going on. And that, again, that's the natural response. Like that's what's supposed to happen in that situation. It's completely understandable. There's nothing to be.
Yeah, the response is fight or flight, and everyone wants to believe that they're going to be fight, and then when it happens, they're flight.
Yeah, and they should be. Like you should fly. You should get away as quickly as possible and try to help as many other people get away as they can. And because if you think, oh, I got a gun, I better go get this guy. Like all you're going to do is make it worse for everybody. Because now there's going to be twice as much gunfire, twice as much confusion. And yeah, if the cops happen to show up, they're going to see you shooting at people.
Yeah. And even if you are lucky enough to be down there and look up and see where you can see like the light from the muzzle, you see the gunshot, you know where it's coming from. You're still not really, okay, I'm going to go right up and see 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess it's faster to take the elevator with that many stairs. Okay, I'll get on the elevator with my gun.
Am I on the right floor yet? Yeah. No, that's not.
Yeah, it's 32, right? Do you count the ground floor? Is the ground floor 1 or is the ground floor the ground floor? You know, like it.
That still confuses people where I work.
This is the 3rd floor, right? No, the 2nd floor. Really?
When it comes to the NRA situations like this, there was a time when the NRA was a gun responsibility, a gun owners organization. Mm-hmm. It was about responsibility. It was about safety. It was about having guns to protect yourself, but within reason. And somewhere along the line, the NRA transitioned into the marketing arm for the gun industry.
Yeah.
The lobbyists for the gun industry. And their entire goal is to sell guns. That's why they're always trying to keep people afraid and always bringing up, you need your guns to protect yourself from this and that. And a really strong indicator of what a lie some of their positions are in this, they're always saying you need to protect yourself from government overreach. You hear that all the time. You hear that from congressmen, for God's sake. If the NRA was, and they say, you need the guns to protect yourself from the government. If the NRA was really concerned about government overreach and government having too much power, you think that maybe they might be protesting when military surplus hardware gets sold to local police forces?
Yeah.
And you've got like local police in like Isocket, Montana, delivering court summons in a vehicle that's designed to protect the occupants if a landmine goes off underneath the vehicle. But they don't. They turn the other way. They let this happen. They don't say a word, and then they're saying, "Hey, did you hear about what the police have? You're going to need better guns to protect yourself from this."
Yeah, exactly. They use that to
escalate it. They don't do anything to stop it. They want to escalate it because, for the person who already has 40 guns, well, yes, but you need more powerful guns. And all they're interested in is selling guns. They want Americans afraid of Americans, and they want Americans shooting at Americans. And that maximizes because the stock prices for gun companies rise every time there's a mass shooting. There's money to be made in mass shootings. So they want Americans afraid of Americans, Americans shooting Americans. And if that isn't very strongly the definition of a terrorist organization, I'm not sure what is.
I agree completely. I think the NRA is far and away. I don't even know what second place would be. They're easily the most contemptible special interest group in this country that is treated like a legitimate entity. You know what I mean? There are groups that you could say are worse, that are just outright hate groups like neo-Nazis or the Ku Klux Klan, but they don't have like 10 million active members. Yeah, exactly. Members. They're not the #1 donor to most members of Congress. Some other members probably are, but they as an organization are not treated as legitimate. The NRA is treated as a legitimate organization, not just worthy of respect, but absolutely demanding of respect. That you must, if you're a Republican especially, or even a Democrat from a relatively rural area, like you have to tip the hat and bow the knee to the NRA, or you know, it's like you have no hope. They'll destroy you, and that's ridiculous.
Give us the respect we deserve, or we'll shoot you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought up that.
Metaphorically, perhaps, but
yeah, someone will shoot you, and
perhaps
then we'll just
perhaps not. But you know, that's the price of freedom.
Exactly. Fuck Bill O'Reilly. I mean, fuck Bill O'Reilly, right? I don't
like who really cares what he still has to say?
Who's asking him anything? Who sees a terrible mass shooting, one of the worst?
There's 50 dead and 500 injured in Las Vegas. What does Bill O'Reilly think?
Get O'Reilly on here. Get O'Reilly on the phone. Let's see what we need. His wisdom now. Like, come on, man. You know, I was talking to my brother a couple weeks ago, actually, before Las Vegas happened, about another incident that didn't actually wind up in a shooting, but it was the incident that was shared on the internet a couple weeks ago, where a driver who was a black man was pulled over by a cop, and the cop, he pulled him over for like not using his turn signal or something like that. And when the cop walked up to the window, he had his gun out already.
Oh, is that the link that you had shared? He said, like,
yeah,
that's my hero.
Yeah, exactly. And the guy, he Facebook lived it, you know, he live streamed it from his phone, and he just,
oh, that was live? He did that?
Yeah. Yeah. And he just read this cop the fucking riot act. He cut a promo on this cop. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? You know,
I only saw the edited version, like the 3-minute edited version that went out that you had linked.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the whole thing beginning to end.
It was originally like he said, and I was talking to my brother about it, and my brother is way more permissive of guns than I am. Like I would be.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about some of the guns that he has.
Yeah, he owns guns, he builds guns, he's like a gun person, right? And I would be happy if we just gathered all of them up and threw them into the sea. Like, I'm not a gun person at all. I think
fish should be armed.
I think yeah, fish should be armed to protect them against.
There's a pun in there somewhere.
There, exactly. The right to bear fins, they call it. Their language is different. But yeah, and we were talking about it. And even though
drowns in debt.
and even though he and I couldn't be further apart in terms of like gun ownership issues, when we were talking about this police officer approaching with his gun out, we both agreed that was just absolutely ridiculous and inexcusable. And he told me about how he has a friend who was in the military for a few years and now works as a contractor and like goes overseas and helps to train people in other countries' militaries. And he does firearms training. And he thinks it's ridiculous the way police specifically and just the average American approaches, you know, using a gun with absolutely no seriousness and no responsibility. And in terms of situations where there's like an active shooter or or where someone has a gun and might start shooting, there's just no attempt to de-escalate at all. Like, it's not treated like, okay, you might have to shoot somebody, but it should absolutely be the last thing you ever do.
Yeah, wasn't the thing where a former military was trying to talk down a guy who was suicidal and other policemen showed up and they just shot the guy on the spot, and then the person who was trying to talk him down got fired?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that another thing that like the NRA should be upset about? That like, you know, government overreach, that the law enforcement is trained to kill first? Don't
exactly.
Shoot to kill.
Exactly, and it varies.
That plays into their narrative.
It varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, of course, but there are some police departments where the firearms training includes like the cops being told, if you think you're in fear for your life, you know, empty the magazine. Like, just shoot until there's no bullets left, and that's just preposterous. I mean, I understand that a police officer wants to protect their own life, but I mean, is there any thought to the life of the other person, especially if you're not even sure that they're armed yet? I mean, yeah. So I don't know. We kind of veered off into a police brutality topic there, but it all kind of it's all in the same soup. I mean, it's all in the same soup. It's we have way too many guns. We're way too proud of them. We're way too quick to use them. You know.
I agree. And since we're trying not to spend too long on one topic, I just want to say one last thing about this, tied into the Las Vegas shooting. Local town makes national news. Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. We made national news.
Oh boy!
Yes.
Right in our backyard.
The owner of a vegan food truck says she regrets a Facebook post in which she appeared to dismiss the deaths of meat eaters in the Las Vegas
Oh my
massacre.
God.
She wrote, "Yes, I am jaded. 59 meat eaters dead. How many animals will live because of this?" In the second comment, she's an expert to say she didn't care about carnists.
I hate to.
She has since she's only been a vegan. Now, this person is 60 years old and has only been a vegan for 2 years.
Well, it took her a while to come around.
She has a food truck. She said she's trying to make a point to these animals are tortured and killed unnecessarily. She has since deactivated her Facebook account, hidden her food truck, and canceled her bookings, and installed a security camera on her home.
Oh, boy.
I mean, called police several times out of fear for their safety. Now, I don't condone the threats that she's getting. I will say that it's pretty ridiculous that she would have been stupid enough to make a comment like that in the first place. 2 years of vegan saying that she's glad there's a mass shooting because she's just assuming they're all meat eaters and they're not vegan, so they deserve to die.
Yeah.
What the hell?
That is pretty messed up. I mean, and look, I just want to go on the record.
I wonder if they're saying that about if she would say the same thing about Puerto Rico or Houston. Think of all those meat eaters who are getting killed in the
all those carnivores drowned. I mean, I hate to tell her, but it probably won't put that big of a dent in the meat industry. It probably won't save any animals. I'm sorry to tell her.
Would she be horrified if she found out that one of the victims was vegan?
Oh yeah, hey.
But that's how towns like this make national news.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
That and the whole John Oliver gave us a new backyard train set. Did you see all of that?
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
Oh God, I'll send you the links after we're done here.
Yeah, I would love to see it. No, I mean, the last time Hagerstown made the news, it was either ugliest city or most racist city in the country. It's never anything good.
Right.
Or remember, 20 years ago, the mayor got into an argument with Jay Leno. Anyway, that's 15 minutes. And actually, I got an update while we were talking there. I didn't want to interrupt because we were talking about a heavy subject, but I got an update from Pierre.
Yeah, we're talking about fish.
Yeah. I don't need a recipe. I just need your ass to be here. Okay. He Facebooked me while you were talking, and he's on 70, and he just passed Frederick. So he says that he'll be here soon. So hopefully we can just vamp for a few more minutes, and then yeah.
You know Maryland better than I do. He's coming from Ohio, so he's heading east.
Yes.
And he's at Frederick. Isn't Frederick east of you? Isn't Frederick east of Hagerstown?
Yeah. Shit.
Unless he's planning on going the extra 26,000 miles, but if he does that, he's probably not going to get back there in time.
All right, hang on. Let me.
Oh, Pierre.
Pierre, you missed us. You should not be to Frederick. Okay. I'm waiting for him to text back.
Well, hopefully he won't text and drive.
No, he texted me right back. He must be texting and driving. He texted me right back.
Does he have that voice to text, or is he
the spelling is really weird. It might be voice to text. Okay, he missed the exit, so he says he's going to turn around. Okay, he says he's going to turn around. He's past Frederick. He's going to turn around. So hopefully he'll be here soon.
So he should have been here already, is what we're saying.
He should have been here already. I was hoping after the first 15, 20 minutes he would be here and we could get into the real topic. But I don't
have like MapQuest or Google Maps or anything.
He doesn't believe in it.
Is he still using paper maps? Like,
I don't know if he. I don't know. Have you ever?
I met up with one time where he actually had like a paper, like a 100-page United States atlas.
Yeah,
like
that's
all 50 states.
That's not really good for a road trip.
No,
I mean it doesn't really do you any good if you're going from state to state. Yeah, no, I don't know. How long ago was that?
Oh, that was years.
So I mean, if he's still working off the same atlas, maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's out of date because they changed the exit numbers like 15 years ago.
Oh, they changed the exit numbers. That the interstate didn't move. I mean, he can still figure out about where he's supposed to get up.
He should be able to read words on a sign.
Recently, my wife and I went to the beach, and we saw where I guess they're trying to get it organized so that when you get off in either direction, exit A or exit B will put you in the same direction, because they actually had the exit that it said exit 2A, formerly exit 2B, and then exit 2B, formerly exit 2A. They swapped them.
That's not confusing.
No, that's not confusing at all.
It was this, but now it's that.
Yeah. So we looked at it. We're like, I didn't get a picture because we were past it too quick. But I'm like, okay, that I'm sure has caused absolutely no confusion whatsoever. I mean, at least here when they renumbered the exits, they went from just numbering them more or less sequentially to mile markers. So they're nothing close to the same.
Yeah, I know. That's that. Which, yeah, at least you don't have to, worry about like
exit 42 became exit 168 or something like that. It's
like, oh, that's okay. That's easy. Okay, so he says he's on his way to Sharpsburg. Okay, so he'll be here soon.
Sharpsburg is the correct place.
Yes, the Sharpsburg is where I am at right now. So he's on his way. He's on his way to Sharpsburg.
I am just checking. Okay.
So let's talk about something else. We were talking about the NRA. We were talking about how terrible and racist they are.
Yeah.
So speaking of racism, how about that response to Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico?
When we wrapped up the last show, I had said, we were saying we don't really have a topic yet. I said, I'm sure that we will be discussing, the terrible response to Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe. It turns out we're not going to be discussing that. We're going to be discussing the terrible response to Hurricane Maria. So I missed it, but that much. Close. I was
just got the wrong hurricane.
Yeah, because Maria wasn't out there yet. Neither was Nate.
We've gotten
to the point where people are like, Nate's a Category 1. I'm going to go out there and sunbathe.
Yeah, exactly. Big whoop.
We hear it's been so many major catastrophic hurricanes that now we hear Category 1. That's nothing. Why are we even talking about this?
What's the upper limit for Category 1?
It's like 100 or 105, I think. I forget.
100 miles an hour winds.
I think it hit with 90-mile-an-hour winds, but the storm itself was moving at like 25. So east of where the eye hits, the wind is blowing inland at 115, and west of it is blowing offshore at 65.
Wow.
Because you have the 25 mile an hour added on the one side and subtracted on the other. So the winds are blowing offshore like 65 on one side and onshore at 115 on the other.
Wow. Well, sure, everybody knows that.
Yeah. This was a storm that moved pretty quick. I mean, the rain is supposed to be up here in Pennsylvania by tomorrow. Is the storm is this? This isn't one that's meandering, and what's going to happen is it's going to hit the jet stream, and it's just going to rip it apart, and the moisture is going to shoot right along the jet stream all the way up the coast.
Yeah, but this one sort of came out like they all have. It sort of came out of nowhere. I was like, "There's another hurricane, seriously?"
Yeah, but this wasn't one we watched approaching for 2 weeks across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
It sort of appeared it was already on shore.
Yeah,
but speaking of Puerto Rico,
Puerto Rico,
you don't even know where to start with just how ridiculous this whole situation is, where the president goes and talks to people like they're not especially bright pets, and then puts paper towels into the crowd. Yeah, you can just picture Obama or Bush doing that, couldn't you? Here, have some paper towels. It's like they're looking for running water and electricity, but paper towels they can mop off the counter.
Well, I mean, the most frustrating thing about that to me, and we're breaking our rule and talking about Trump a little bit outside of our 5 minutes, but it's kind of difficult to avoid.
We kind of have to with this Puerto Rico thing.
Yeah, I mean,
they put a lot more response into the places in the continental United States, and not so much into the one where it's outside the continent and the people are, shall we say, not completely white and they speak Spanish. So he's a bit less concerned.
Yeah, exactly. Gee, I wonder what that might be due to.
Definitely not racism.
Definitely not. He's certainly not a racist. Certainly not.
And neither are the Nazis he defended.
No, neither are the Nazis. No. He's a liar. All he ever does is lie. But it seems even worse when he's lying to the faces of people who are in desperate need and know he's lying. Like he was in San Juan, and he was telling them basically, you know, you can put your flashlights away. You won't need your flashlights anymore. When 97% of the island was still without electricity.
Well, that's the White House website doesn't say that anymore because they pulled all the depressing statistics off.
Yeah. So he's lying to hurricane victims and saying everything's a lot better now when it's not a lot better now. Mm-hmm. He exaggerated the number of troops that were on the island helping, which is, it's great that we sent the army there, and good, you know, bless those people who were there doing what they can to help. But the president lied and said there are way more people there helping than there are. He lied about the amount of supplies that were sent. He made up these fucking bullshit excuses about how it's more difficult because it's surrounded by water. As though
which didn't slow him down when he threatened North Korea, which is across a lot more water.
Well, and never mind the fact that we did fucking disaster relief for Haiti, and have we forgotten how to do it?
No,
has it been that long?
To do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's such. And then the motherfucker, he has the guts to bring up the fucking budget there in Puerto Rico. He says, "Boy, you folks have really you've really thrown our budget out of whack." Man, fuck you. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, he's such an asshole. Lin-Manuel Miranda was cussing him out on Twitter. And Lin-Manuel Miranda is like sunshine and puppies, right? Like, he's never mad about anything. And he was like, you're going to hell. They're going to, you're not even going to have to wait in line. They'll stand aside. They'll let you right in. You know, I mean.
It's like Mr. Four bankruptcies telling other people they have too much debt.
Yeah, and basically pretending as though it's out of his hands, as though debt ever stopped America from doing anything it really wanted to do.
Killing people, you know.
Yeah, if we want to kill people, we don't worry about the debt. But if we need to help,
they authorized more of a military increase and be necessary to pay for all the disaster relief and for education.
Yeah,
but no, there's no money for that. Yeah,
afterwards. They approved this. They approved the massive jump in the military budget after Puerto Rico, after Trump was like, I don't know, we're going to have to find the money somewhere. Mm-hmm. Like, you fucking transparent motherfucker. Do you not think that everybody sees exactly what you are? I mean, I guess not everybody does, because there's a lot of people still on his side, but fuck those people too. I mean, I'm at that point now. If you're still with Trump and you still think he's doing a good job, fuck you.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not the diplomatic one. I'm not the one who's going to say, well, let's talk about this. No, fuck you.
To defend Trump, you either have to be completely clueless about what's going on, or you're just an unrepentant apologist, and anything he does, you're going to excuse.
Yeah. And the cluelessness at this point, I think we're beyond the point where that is an excuse.
Well, they were defending him on the grounds that he's incompetent. He doesn't know how this works. I mean, when that's your defense. But let's talk. If we can talk about one thing that's potentially a positive out of this, and trying to get off the topic of talking about Trump, because who knows what's talking about Trump. One positive: Elon Musk, Tesla, talking about potentially doing a green power grid for Puerto Rico. That would be phenomenal, because it appears that that's a good route to go. Because first of all, it doesn't look like the one that's there is going to be repaired or replaced anytime soon. Right. So this is a good thing to see them stepping in and doing this. And if they can do this and get it to work, if they don't know it's trying to sabotage it or whatever, for financial reasons, political reasons, then they can prove that this is a viable thing, because they've done it on small scale, but they've never done it anywhere as large and as great an area and as great a population as Puerto Rico. If they can get that up and running and prove that this is viable on the large scale, that's a game changer worldwide.
Absolutely. And then what will happen is once it's proven that it works, a community of people of color prove that it works, then us white people will steal it.
Yeah, that's
how it works. If you can convince all the white people that we'll be stealing solar power from people of color, then we'll fucking do it. Like, we'll do it like the next day. We'll be like, oh no, we'll have that. Thank you very much. And thank you for rock and roll and hip hop as well.
How terrible is it that we can say that and it makes perfect sense and it's reasonable?
I mean, because that's what we do. That's what we do. We see black folks or people of color doing something that's really awesome that works, and we're like, we got it.
We did it. It was us.
Yeah, we take credit for it, because Elvis invented rock and roll.
Yeah,
Elvis did.
A white man with a black man's voice. That's all.
Yeah. And but Elvis was such a good gospel singer. Guess who invented gospel too, by the way?
I did read something fairly recently that said that as far as speculative investment and so on goes,
Yeah.
they suggested that despite everything that's going on, despite how what of a stranglehold it has, they were saying that within 10 to 20 years, they think there's a very good chance the bottom will drop completely out of oil.
Okay, well that's good.
That was stuff like with the green energy and with growing concern about climate change, where people can actually see that, where people have lived in their same house for 50 years suddenly have the high tides coming into their yard and their house regularly.
Yeah,
which never happened before because the seas are higher now, because this is an ongoing problem and we can actually see it. That as the awareness grows and the green energy, solar energy, wind power, so on become cheaper, and you can create the same energy for less initial investment and maintenance than oil, because oil is expensive and it's dirty.
Yeah,
oil is very expensive. You have to drill, you have to, and the sunshine is right at the surface and the wind is right at the surface, and you don't have to. And it's going to be it's slowly crossing the line where oil is going to be the more expensive option.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a shame that we've allowed it to get to that point. You know what I mean? Because like that was always inevitable. I mean, it doesn't take a psychic to figure out. Even 100 years ago, people knew, like, I mean, eventually we're going to run out of oil. Like maybe we should start working on something else here, and now we're at the point where, well, maybe another 30, 40 years, we're going to run out of oil. Oh, well, then we should definitely do something.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I have somebody, I won't go into detail, but somebody who said to me repeatedly that America was not made great by socialism, it was made great by capitalism. It's like capitalism is very much what's holding a lot of things back. There's too much money in what's inefficient to go to something better. He also complains a lot about the cost of his health insurance, and I'm like, dude, you're pulling in two different directions. Your health insurance is expensive as it is because of capitalism.
Exactly. And I mean, people who say that are often either ignorant or in deep denial of what a huge role some very limited forms of socialism have played in,
Do you have a social
creating
security
American
card on
achievement?
You? Then you are a card-carrying socialist.
Exactly. Have you ever been to a public library?
Yeah.
Do you send your kids to a public school? Do you drive public roads? Have you ever been to a state or a national park?
Remember when they shut down a couple of years ago, where they shut down the government, and then like people like Michelle Bachmann were, in a sense, absolutely infuriated, discovered that national parks were closed, and they demanded an investigation into how and why that happened. Like, are you serious?
Like, you didn't pay attention in government class either?
All these people, so many people, and I know I'm painting with a broad brush here, but you see a lot more of them on the Republican side than the Democrat side. They are in government and they don't have the slightest clue how government works.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not even talking about things like, the give and take and negotiation. I'm talking about the difference between a bill and a signing statement.
The stuff that is written down that you can just read about. You don't even have to learn on the job. Yeah. Well, and you notice how different it is when one of their guys is in charge too, because every time Obama signed an executive order or amended,
tyrannical overreach.
Amended a piece of legislation with a signing statement, they'd be like, "Oh, this is ridiculous. Legislating is not the job of the executive," And then Trump does it.
Obama go on vacation to a golf course?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so like in a way, like it's nice to see the hypocrisy just out in the open, but it's alarming to see to how many people it just doesn't make a difference.
Right. That's because Trump does not exist in a vacuum. I mean, even if Trump were to disappear tomorrow, the problems would still exist. The apologists, the people who don't see a problem with this, will just prop up the next awful person as well.
The main difference between Trump and a more run-of-the-mill Republican is the stuff that you see come out in situations like Puerto Rico.
Trump doesn't have the filter that the other people have.
He doesn't have the. He doesn't have the filter. He doesn't have the empathy or the compassion. I mean, George W. Bush fucked Katrina up as much as you can fuck any disaster recovery up. He responded to that in a completely inadequate way. But even George W. Bush knew that it was a tragedy and that he should go down and he should meet with people and he should try to behave like a leader and try to put people's concerns at ease and try to make people feel like, you know what, we're here, we've got you, we're gonna make this right. He fucked it up,
but he tried.
He tried. So Trump just shows up and says, "This is going to be expensive. I don't know."
Yeah, Trump doesn't even try. The only reason he's down there is because he has to be.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. If
they practically, I would actually practically had to pick him up and carry him to the plane. It's like,
yeah,
you are going to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, you're the president.
Like, fine. Yeah.
You're the president. They're American citizens. You have to go.
Can we count this as 5 minutes of Trump, or do we have to go 5 minutes of Trump later on?
let's just count this.
I'm okay with that.
Donald Trump.
So are we at the 5/15 minutes yet?
Yeah, we have 1 minute left. And then Pierre is not here yet. I'm going to seek an update from him in a minute. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, the Puerto Rico thing. Yeah, I hope that their power grid gets rebuilt. I hope that they get, the help they need.
And I think it'll be fantastic if they do this with the Tesla projects and all this renewable energy and finally do something on a large scale here that America and Americans will be a little bit more hard pressed to deny, like they do where it works over in Europe.
Right. Yeah. And
well, that's Europe. We're exceptional. It won't work here. Yeah. The sunlight is different.
The laws of physics are different here.
Laws of rationality and common decency are different here. What's different.
They're way different. And the good thing about the Puerto Rico power grid thing is if that does happen and it works, there's no way that it can be credited to Obama, so Trump won't try to destroy it. So it's win-win-win. You know what I'm saying? Okay, that's 15 minutes for that. Let me see where Pierre is at here. Okay, he sent me another text or another Facebook PM. And he says
he's doing this on Facebook instead of text message.
He has it on his phone. I guess he knew that I'd be on my computer, so he's texting me through Facebook.
Yeah, because he knew that we were doing this. So
yeah,
plus,
exactly.
Plus, you never, ever, ever answer your fucking phone.
No, never. I
when I wanted you to be best man for my wedding, I had to try to contact you like 24 times, and I was starting to get heat from Kristen because it was getting to the point where we had to get a yes or no from you before we could move forward.
You had to send me.
It took 2 weeks before you finally got back to me.
You had to send me a notarized letter.
Practically,
a courier had to knock on my door.
You finally did answer the phone on a Sunday night during The Simpsons.
A good time to catch me. Okay, so he says, I don't get this. He says he's on his way to Sharpsburg, but he says he won't be here for another 3 hours. If he's coming from Frederick, he should have been here by now. That was like 15-20 minutes ago. He should be here or be almost here. Where the hell are you? Sharpsburg is 20 minutes from Frederick. Oh my God. Okay. No, he's okay.
Did he get off the interstate? And
he's going to Sharpsburg. He's going to Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania.
Is it Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania?
There, yeah. Apparently there is. Let me.
How does he not know that he's heading to Maryland, where you are and where you have always been, and will likely always be?
Well, he's never actually visited me here. He's going to, okay, I just Googled it. There is a Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's up near Pittsburgh.
Great, he can visit my sister.
Yeah.
All right.
And he says, okay, he says that he's not sure if he even wants to come now because he sees that the route has tolls.
The route has. Didn't he go through the tolls the other way?
I guess maybe, I don't know. Maybe he took like back roads or something to get around the tolls. I don't know.
Interstate 70 has tolls?
Interstate, well, no, 70 doesn't, but I guess up in Pennsylvania on 76, when he's going to Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania, I guess there are some tolls.
Yeah, 76 is the turnpike. So yeah, that's a toll road.
Well, that's what he's on. God
How
damn
did
it.
he get up there that fast?
I'm telling you, I don't even think he's actually up there yet. He's just on, he's on his way there. And he says he's, all right. We've only got like 20 minutes left in the show. I'm going to tell him to get his ass down here, but I don't think it's going to work. Get your ass down here now.
Yes, because taking the aggressive approach is going to be so much more effective.
I'm not being that aggressive. You motherfucking piece of shit. Okay.
Did you actually send that, or did you?
I did. No, I that's not a joke. I actually sent that. So.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess we have a few more minutes to kill before he gets here. So, we can.
Speaking of racism.
You can use racism for a segue to anything.
Yeah, as I once said to somebody, somebody's complaining, why do people make everything about racism? And I'm like, well, people will stop dragging racism into all sorts of different issues when those issues are no longer influenced by racism.
Yeah, it's kind of a widespread problem. It's somewhat pervasive.
I understand you have some more, shall we put this delicately and say more bitching to do about Milwaukee?
Milwaukee itself, I'm sure, is lovely.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a fine city. Huh?
Didn't Laverne and Shirley take place there?
Yeah, right. Come on. Wayne and Garth went to an Alice Cooper concert there in Wayne's World. It seems like a nice place.
Pierre just sent me, Steve is getting upset with me.
Oh, now okay. So now he's doing like he's trying to do like good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. Apparently. I mean, I got the,
I mean, how do you confuse Sharpsburg, Maryland with Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania? Like there was a Civil War battle here. How do you confuse this Sharpsburg? This has got to be the leading Sharpsburg in the nation, wouldn't you think?
Well, when you go to Google Maps and type in Sharpsburg, Maryland is the one that comes up first.
I know. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's still, maybe he's on his international cell phone plan. Maybe the suggestions are different. Maybe he's on like French Google and they're like, they like Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania.
Like
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, the Milwaukee thing. So yeah, there was a shitlord conference in Milwaukee that they called an atheist conference.
I'm saying I'm the one in Pennsylvania. Steve's in Maryland. Aiming for Maryland.
Did he think that he was coming to see you, but that you lived in Sharpsburg? Could that possibly be what happened?
It makes as much sense as anything.
But but Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania isn't even that close to you.
No, it's not. It's the opposite side of the city. That's like 6 hours away.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know. I don't try to understand how Pierre's mind works because there's only so many hours in the day.
I mean, this was going to be the show. He was not only going to be here, he was going to be like physically here. Because you know how people talk. People say that he's not real.
We can get a stand-in, I guess. We can have. Yeah.
Get somebody to play Pierre. I mean, who would even want to do that?
Prospector Joan.
He can't do a French accent. Oui, mon chéri.
Yeah, well.
Howdy, mon frère.
I think such a thing would be, Millicent would consider such a thing to be beneath her.
Yeah, she wouldn't do it. I guess we could try Hans Krieger. He is an actor. But again, I'm not sure on his French accent. I don't know if he could nail it.
Maybe worth a shot.
I'll ask him about it. Maybe
we'll pencil that in for a future show, maybe.
Yeah, I guess.
All right.
If the real Pierre can't be bothered to make it.
So anyway, Milwaukee.
Yeah. Let me shift my anger from Pierre to something else. Yeah. So they had the Mythicist Milwaukee Myth Information Conference. I already did a video about it, like a standalone video about it.
Yeah, and it was about half an hour, and I told you it's about the angriest I have ever seen you in a video, the most openly angry.
Well,
and you were naming names, which you don't normally do, but in this case, there's really no point in not naming names because you're talking about a specific person in many cases. There. So there's really no point dancing around it.
No, and
like,
I mean,
I'm not going to name the person who is just fucking up everything. We're just going to call him the president.
He's
there comes a point.
He's the chief executive of a certain country.
Yeah, there comes a point where not naming names is just pointless.
Yeah, and there was a bit of that happened before the conference. Because one of the names I named in the video, not the main one, not the one of the people that was like at the center of all the problems, but one of the people who just really, really pissed me off and disappointed me by the way he responded to it was Seth Andrews, the host of the Thinking Atheist podcast.
Was he the person who eventually backed out, but only did it because of all the, and his response was basically sort of like, okay, there, I did it. I'm not going. Are you losers happy now? Was sort of
basically. Yeah. He's the guy who originally wasn't going to do anything different, and then people started to tell him how awful this was going to be, and then he continued to justify the fact that he was still going and started to attack the people who were trying to warn him. Then he changed his mind and said, okay, not only am I going to go, I'm going to speak at the conference. And then he got even more shit for that, and deservedly so. So then he finally decided, okay, I'm not going to go. And he sort of cued himself for applause after every one of those responses. Like, okay, here's what I'm going to do, because I'm a good person.
Fanfare time.
Yeah. And that really, because I've been a fan of his for years, and we've met in person once or twice, and I've been on his show, and I've generally thought of him as a good dude, but fuck that. You shouldn't have to be dragged to admit that this conference was a terrible idea and be convinced to not participate. Like, I don't get how, what's so hard about this? Hey, hi, it's me. I was invited to your conference. I heard that you invited Carl Benjamin. Is that true? Yeah. So he's still coming? Okay, well, cancel my reservation. I'm not coming. Fuck you. I mean, how fucking hard is that? And why couldn't every single person have done that? I really don't think I'm asking for that much. Because
that sort of racism and misogyny and harassment are not seen as problems by many of the people involved.
That's exactly right. Hey, you win. That's exactly right. Because you know why? Because they ignore it. Because they know faintly that this is a problem, but they don't really worry about it. They don't think about it. They don't bother themselves with looking into it or listening to people who are telling them about it, because they don't experience it. They think, oh, I mean, it's probably not as bad as they're making it out to be. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed that is really surprising to me in a way, and I don't know how you go about addressing this in practical context, but I find it amazing the dissociation that people can create between their opinion of a group in general and their opinion of members of that group that they know personally.
Yeah.
Because, you'll hear people talk about all these, and it's like a certain religion or ethnicity or whatever, and it's like, or people who have this in their past or whatever, and they'll just trash them, they'll savage them, they'll go on and on about how terrible they are. It's like, well, this person and this person and this person who all fall under that. Oh, well, no, not them. They're okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
they're one of the good ones.
It doesn't matter how many individual, if they might know 10 people who fall under this whatever category it is that they're trashing. They might know 10 people, and none of them actually fit their stereotype, but that doesn't change their opinion of the stereotype.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, so who are you talking about?
Right, and I've seen that when it comes to people talking about about. I've seen it with different races. I've seen it with religion. I've seen it with welfare recipients. There's the general opinion they have of them as a group, and then there's a completely different opinion they have about every single individual in that group who they actually know anything about. Yeah,
yeah. It's like they can't allow what they know about actual people to influence, their judgment of the entire group.
Yeah, and when practical experience and what you have actually experienced in your life and what you know and have seen personally to be true does not change your opinion, how is somebody else going to actually get through that?
Yeah, yeah. You know, that actually that reminds me of another. There was another response. There was because the responses of people leading up to the MythCon event, um, who were trying to downplay it or minimize it or say like, oh, it just wouldn't be, it's not going to be that bad. There are still people who are pulling that shit after the fact, when it was a complete fucking horror show, when people in the audience cheered for a guy who tweeted at a sexual assault survivor, "I wouldn't even rape you," right? Yeah, I mean, there were people in people in the audience of an atheist conference cheered that because someone who was an invited speaker to that conference said it. And there are still people afterwards who were trying to say, oh, I mean, yeah, that was terrible, but it wasn't that big of a deal. And Matt Dillahunty did a video about it recently. And he's another one who I used to be a big fan of his, but this event
It's really turned you off from how we handled it.
Yeah, well, because basically it's shown me what he's good for and what he's not good for. And the things that he's not good for just so happen to be things I really care about and think are really important. And he's just no good for them at all. He doesn't seem to give. He still, and he was there. He was.
It's one of those actions speak louder than words. You can say you're for a specific cause or opinion all you want, but when, you know, as the phrase, mixing metaphors over the rubber, it's a row. When you actually are in that situation, you have a chance to stand for that. Will you?
Yeah,
that's the thing that I had reshared on Facebook recently. Something about show me your budget and I'll show you what you care about.
Yeah, exactly. Your actions speak louder than words. If you have a chance to show that you really do care about the things that you say you care about, and then you don't show that, well, guess what? Like, I don't believe you when you tell me you care about that anymore.
I do not support rape apologists, and neither does my good buddy Sargon.
Yeah, well, you know what he did? Well, here's the thing that really irritates me about it. What he did was he said he knew he knew very little about Sargon going in. Didn't bother to educate himself apparently going in, even though he was going to be part of the event. He was moderating a debate at the same event. Wasn't bothered about doing any sort of homework. See, I wonder if these people really are as bad as people say. He just sort of was like, yeah, okay, whatever. We'll see what happens. And then afterwards, after the event, he makes a video saying like, oh yeah, Sargon is disgusting. He's terrible. What he said was awful. You know, I walked out of that talk, you know,
like I thought you couldn't have seen that coming.
That's it exactly. How many people were telling him, were telling Seth Andrews, were telling everybody?
How many videos are there online that from him that you could look at and see it firsthand? How is it even
a thought in your mind? Well, I'll go and see if it really is that bad, right? And then he waits till afterwards. He does absolutely nothing leading up to the event. I mean, absolutely nothing, except maybe get a little snarky with the organizers on Twitter. You know, he sort of questions them very mildly on Twitter, like, oh, what's this all about? Blah, 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 blah. Does absolutely nothing and participates in the event. And of course is outraged and appalled by Carl Benjamin, and then makes a video after the fact about how outraged he is, but he can't help but flip a little shit to people like he didn't name any names, but he's talking about people like Dan Errol and Christy Winters and Stephanie Zvan and myself who tried to raise awareness of who these people were and why it was a terrible idea to invite them to this event. And in the cases of a few of us, myself included, we also contacted the venue. I sent an email to the Pabst Theater and said, do you know what this is? Are you sure you want to have these people on your stage? And apparently we're supposed to be embarrassed by that or ashamed of that, because that makes us just as bad as fascists, because we tried to deplatform people, because that would have been awful, right? If a professional rape apologist had been deplatformed from an atheist conference, that would have been terrible. Good thing I've got the guy who didn't do jack shit about it to lecture me about it.
Yeah, I would.
You know, it really pisses me off.
I went to a Klan rally and let them put my name on the flyers, and then I went there, and you know what? It was pretty racist. Who could have seen that coming? I was shocked.
Yeah, and now that I've seen it for myself,
I'm very disappointed in them, and I hope to engage them again in the future so we can discuss this more thoroughly.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to go to any more Klan rallies. Oh, good job. Yeah, that's what we really, man. Fuck that. Like,
set the bar high. You know?
I mean, how fucking willfully pig ignorant and cowardly can you be? I would love to have prominent atheists in this community who are at the level of the Dillahunties, the Seth Andrews, who have like hundreds of thousands of YouTube subscribers, who have widely listened to podcasts, who are white people and whose name isn't Eli Bosnick or Thomas Smith, because those guys are awesome. But the whole scathing atheist crew, like that whole crowd of people are awesome and amazing people, and we're on the right side of this.
Yeah. It's like there's an atheist community, and there's a very small subset of it which is actually decent human beings.
Yeah, and are willing to say stuff and speak out about it. And they weren't all as hardcore against it as I was. Not all of them were like contacting the venue. And but
if the approach that some people are taking is, well, I need to back them because they're atheists, which because you don't want to split the community, isn't that kind of the same thing as Republicans propping up Trump?
Yeah, exactly.
I know he's awful, but he's one of us, so I'm going to defend him.
Yeah, we don't want to sow division.
Yeah, there's right and wrong, and then there's us and them, and you know what? Us and them is more important.
Yeah, exactly. And you know another thing. Just one more quick thing about this, and then I'll get off the subject because it's just infuriating to me. There was a point in Dillahunty's video where he mentioned like the people. There were people who said that one of the major reasons why inviting people like Carl Benjamin to a conference was a horrible idea was that it presented a physical danger to people, because he is an online inciter of harassment. He's a sexual harasser in the past. He has harassed people in person before when he went to VidCon.
Hasn't he gone so far and sent so much crap to people that he actually got kicked off Twitter?
He was permanently banned from Twitter, which is
how the hell
real
do you
hard
get banned
to do.
From Twitter?
Exactly. He's such a piece of shit. He was banned permanently from Twitter. And his fans, his followers who showed up in apparently fairly significant numbers to MythCon, because there were enough of them to have like a big round of applause at his fucking awful words. They're not the kind of people that if I were a woman, or if I were a black person, or a person of color of any color, or if I was a person, an LGBTQ person, I would certainly not feel safe in a room filled with those people. But Matt Dillahunty in his video took it upon himself as a relatively privileged white person who was at that event in a professional capacity, took it upon himself to say, I think it was going overboard to say that it was a threat to people's safety. That was obviously not true. There were people who were there who were tweeting and Facebooking at the time when that applause went up for that line, when they realized like who they were surrounded by. There were people I saw Facebooking and tweeting saying, I don't feel safe here being a black person, or I don't feel safe here being a woman. But I guess Matt Dillahunty would know better than them whether or not it was reasonable for them to feel comfortable in such a place. Like the level of entitlement and elitism and clearly not giving a shit, and
just colorblindness, or tunnel vision. It's like, well, it's not a problem to me, so it's not a problem to anyone.
Yeah, and
no one gave me any shit for being black.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, hello.
It's disappointing because these are people like the people I've been mentioning. These are people who have prominent places in the atheist community, and these are the people that a lot of us. Not even us as in me, I mean, but people who are much more marginalized and much more targeted by people like Carl Benjamin and his followers than I am. People who are in marginalized groups, because I'm a fucking cis hetero white guy who does YouTube for a living. I'm about as privileged as you can get without being just flat out rich. And I'm not necessarily the most threatened by these people, but there are people in our community who are members of groups who are targeted and threatened and harassed by these people. And
if a person says that they feel threatened and they can provide actual threats that they've received, maybe you can take them seriously.
Maybe you should.
Not making it up.
And maybe you shouldn't treat it like internet drama or something that's beneath your attention, because people like Seth Andrews, Matt Dillahunty, we need these people to show up and to speak out and to be leaders, and basically to do more than just argue with creationists, because honestly, who the fuck can't win an argument with a creationist? That's like a party trick at this point. Who gives a shit? I don't care. You don't impress me anymore with your ability to win an argument against a creationist. You impress me by standing up and taking a stand and putting your neck out for compassion and human dignity and equality, and trying to make the community that you are a part of a better place.
Or even at the very least, basic human decency. Is that too high a bar?
Or how about this? Just don't fucking go to the thing. If everybody says this is going to be a terrible thing, and you're a respected person in the community, maybe just don't go, and make sure the organizers know why you're not going, so that you send a message. How about that? No, I'm going to go, and then I'm going to make a cranky YouTube video about it after the fact.
Because then you lend them your credibility.
Yeah, it's horseshit, and there are so many people who should have known better, who should have been above it, who should still know better and should still be above this sort of thing, who are absolutely without excuse and should be fucking ashamed of themselves, but are completely happy and justified with the way they handled it. And it makes me sick.
But I understand that you're going to be like putting your money where your mouth is and trying to do a rather better thing in next year.
Yes, next year.
Trying to segue here nicely from.
Yes.
From
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because
as far as this goes, each of us carry the team in different ways. When it comes to segues, I'm definitely carrying the team on that front.
Boy, howdy. Absolutely. Next year in New York City, next July, there will be an event called the Atheist Conference that is being abbreviated as TAC, TAC. It'll be the first major atheist conference in New York City. And I'm just a very, very tiny part of it. I'm organizing a YouTube panel, and I'll be giving a talk or a presentation or something on my own as well. And there'll be a lot of other awesome people there. Mandisa Thomas is currently scheduled to give the keynote address. Christy Winters.
I assume you're not inviting Sargon?
Oh, no, Sargon is not invited. And we're going to try to do it right. And it's not just us. There are a lot of conferences in the atheist community that actually their response to this has been a lot more heartening. David Silverman, the head of American Atheists, has behaved the way I would have hoped everybody in his position would have behaved. He denounced the event. He said it was disgusting. He said those sorts of things don't happen at our events, and they never will. And that's exactly what I need to hear. I need to hear unequivocal condemnation. He didn't come out and say, yeah, it was awful, but some people made too big a deal about it. He said it was disgusting and it should be stopped. That sort of thing shouldn't happen, and it will never happen in our events. There's an event coming up next week in Pennsylvania called PastaCon in Philadelphia that I went to 2 years ago. That was a wonderful event. Skepticon is coming up soon in Springfield. And there are a lot of great conferences and a lot of people who are doing it the right way. And with TAC, we are trying to add another event to that calendar and say, here's somewhere else. If you are absolutely repulsed by MythCon and by what was represented there is still a place for you. We want you to come. We want to have an atheist community that is broad and diverse and inclusive and safe, and we'll seek out and listen to a variety of voices, and we'll try to push back against undue religious influence in our society, and try to create like a secular society where everybody, regardless of religion, can be free and equal and peaceful. But also we will be wanting to create the best possible atheist community we can for people who need it to come to it. So yeah, and that'll be next July. And tickets for that should go on sale pretty soon. They may even go on sale today. And as soon as I find out about that, I will be sharing it relentlessly on social media.
Yeah. So it's an important point to make is you're not just complaining about, this is bad. You're working on building something good at the same time.
We're working on building something good, and so are a lot of other people.
Yes. It's not all negative. So I wanted to, I figured that would be a good thing to mention here, since it's, you see the worst and now try to see something a lot better.
Exactly. So there we go. And
I also want to mention, I just got a message from Pierre.
I was just going to say I haven't seen him or heard from him.
No, because he says he's on 81 and he's going south, but he didn't give me an actual location.
Okay.
And he said that he didn't want to let you know because he's afraid you're going to yell at him now.
Oh my God.
And he also says that he's nearing his roaming data limit. He doesn't want to have any overages.
So what? He's not gonna talk to us anymore
for this month? I don't know. That's what he said.
I mean, whose fault is that, Pierre? Okay, so I guess this was going to be the big moment. You know what I mean? This was going to be the big show. Like Pierre was going to be here. And now I guess it's not going to happen now.
The silver lining is that he has maintained his perfect record.
Yeah, he is. He's the Cal Ripken of not showing up.
He's got a long way to go to catch up with Lou Gehrig not showing up, though.
Oh.
I'm sorry, is that in bad taste? We're gonna have to do a lot more. We're gonna have to do a lot more shows on Pierre to catch up because Lou Gehrig's falling behind by 162 a year, and we're doing like one a month. So,
oh, he was a great man who died under the most tragic of circumstances. Yeah. Well, shit. Okay, so I guess you know what we never.
I went there, and I'm not necessarily proud about it. Now I'm not sure where to go from there.
We never got to talk about the big subject. I guess we'll just, you know, we'll just skip it. We had a really awesome topic for this show, and we never got around to it. Well, I think we did okay though. We talked about some important stuff,
and we managed to sneak in the 5 minutes of Trump without actually having to focus specifically on him. So that was a fringe benefit.
Made it a lot easier.
Yeah, or French benefit according to the one commercial. You get fringe benefits, not French benefits.
So I guess we should wrap it up. I mean, no Pierre again, but a pretty good show altogether, I think.
And it looks like the Yankees are close to being eliminated. I'm okay with that.
I saw that. I checked the standings before we went on the air. It's of course the Red Sox are in the same boat. They're down by 2 in the.
You know what?
In the division
I'm okay
series.
with that. I'm sick of both of them.
Yeah, I don't mind either. I'm a Red Sox fan, but I don't mind seeing. I wouldn't mind seeing the Astros beat them.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I mean,
I know that the networks and the big money makers want to see all the big teams in every year. Honestly, I think that as far as the network ratings, advertising, as far as the league is concerned, if it was like Yankees versus Los Angeles Dodgers every year, they would be happy beyond words. But I'm quite all right with not seeing the Yankees in there, not seeing the Red Sox in there. I'd like to see it mix up a bit, have different teams in there. I was kind of pulling for Pittsburgh when they finally made the postseason, simply because they hadn't been there since, God was a little boy, I think, the last time Pittsburgh made the postseason. So
I think, it's been a while. I think it's the last time they were there was probably when they beat the Orioles the last time.
Yeah, but they had that stretch where they broke Philadelphia's record for consecutive losing seasons, but they then finally did get to the postseason a couple of years, and I was all for that. It's good to see it mixed up a bit. Houston had 3 straight years of 105 losses or something crazy like that when they went the monster rebuild where they just scorched earth and rebuilt from the ground up. It's good to see them finally. They got to the World Series, right? Did they get to the World Series?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah,
and I know Kansas City managed to win a World Series after their death-defying run of being awful forever. So I like to see it mixed up a bit. I like to see other teams get in there. The Cubs won it, and they're sentimental favorites for a little while. But if they get in there 3-4 years in a row, I'm going to start rooting against them too, just on general principles. You got to get fresh blood in there.
Sorry, Jason. Yeah. Okay.
So other than that, haven't got a whole lot else right now.
No, because you haven't seen Star Trek yet. You haven't seen Star Trek.
I haven't seen. I've seen a lot of Star Trek. I haven't seen any Discovery. Yeah,
because you're smart. You're the smart one of the two of us. You weren't conned into buying CBS All Access to watch it as it airs.
Yeah, because screw that noise. That's just they're basically taking advantage of the Star Trek name to try to launch their streaming internet TV service, and I think they're going to be like the 15th one on the playing field. So
yeah, because
Star Trek try to sell it, and you know what? The market is flooded with streaming TV services. We need to get back to like Netflix and 2 or 3 others. And I kind of like the idea of them being somewhat independent from the actual people who are producing the material.
Yeah.
So they don't have they have a more they don't have a vested interest in any sort of one part of it. They're more impartial about it.
Well, I mean, what I want to know is to the people behind CBS All Access, like what's so wrong with Hulu? ABC and NBC and Fox have shows on Hulu. What's so bad about Hulu, CBS? Hulu has shows that won Emmys, man. Handmaid's Tale won a bunch of Emmys.
But
you think any shows on CBS All Access are going to win any fucking Emmys next year? I don't think so.
They're going to get swept. Oh, for everything. No, the reason why is that there's more money in running it yourself.
Yeah, I know. At least between now and the end of the Discovery season.
Yeah. Because what else does CBS have as far as a network shows that they're going to Yeah, it's
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I
whatever.
guess if you missed last night's NCIS and you really want to see it,
NCIS season 14. This was a groundbreaking episode.
let me tell you. I Scott Bakula has an NCIS show. He does NCIS New Orleans, right?
Mhm.
You know what a huge Scott Bakula fan I am.
Yes.
I am a huge Scott Bakula fan.
Yes.
It's never even occurred to me to watch that show. I've never even had the thought of, oh, Bakula's on that. I should check that out just for an episode, see what it's like. Never even thought about it
Until now.
until now. And now I'm thinking, I'm never going to do that. Like, that's the thought that I had about it. I'm never doing that.
Like
So
Law and Order with it was like 6 different shows trying to get a Law and Order in every major city in America.
Law and Order Columbus.
I always said when NYPD Blue went off the air, they should have done that. Like NYPD Blue, Chicago. Yeah.
NYPD Blue, Levittown, Pennsylvania.
That's just amazing how that show just disappeared. When it went off the air, it just disappeared. You didn't see, you didn't hear about it. Syndication disappeared. It just vanished.
For such a groundbreaking show at the time, it left very little footprint.
But you know what it is? I think part of that was its last year it aired, I believe it was 2001, 2002, and they were running scared after September 11th and the whole Super Bowl, and the government was really cracking down on things on TV, because I think that last season they cut way back on the language, and I don't think they did any warnings about partial nudity at all, because they dropped that completely for the last year because they were afraid of what the government was going to do. So it kind of disappeared at a point where I think that has a part of that's part of the reason why it disappeared as definitively as it did when it went off the air, because of the atmosphere at the time that it ended.
Well, and plus, I mean, it was one of those shows that it had really outrun itself. I mean, it was still a pretty good show, I thought, in the last couple seasons. I didn't mind watching it, but I mean, it was like, okay, but they really should have ended this, like about 4 years ago. I mean,
yeah, they did admit, going into the last season, they were trying to get a little bit of the edge factor, which is why they brought in the person running the precinct, who suddenly was not on their side, which is something they hadn't really done before. I mean, it was funny watching the rather incompetent guy the year before reading through the books and trying to hammer a nail into stone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that last season where all of a sudden they're actually in direct conflict with the person in charge just in order to try to do their job, that was that was something they hadn't done before, and it was a good thing to see. Trying to do something a little bit different, mix it up, and have some sort of edge still in the show.
Yeah, and he did turn out to be a really good character, and the actor who plays him was one of my favorite parts of that last season of the show. But yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, it's still pretty good, but I mean, really, like 11, 12 seasons, we should have ended this before this, right?
Yeah. So we should send that memo to the Simpsons creators.
Oh my God, what are they doing? Like, they're going for 30, I guess, but I mean,
they want more episodes than Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
Although they're still not going to have as much material as the next goal will be as much material, because Gunsmoke was generally an hour.
Yeah. So there'll still be more Gunsmoke.
They'll have to go 60 years instead of 30.
Oh. They're gonna the main cast is gonna be on life support, like recording the voices from their hospital beds.
They're gonna be in the Futurama head in a jar doing
it. Exactly.
Please let me die.
Dad Castellaneta will be in a jar just ahead going, I don't want to do these voices anymore.
Oh God. Anyway, so shall we wrap it up here?
Let's wrap it up. Yeah. Speaking of, they should have ended this long ago. Let's wrap it up, shall we?
Well, we've only done 9 episodes.
That's true. Yeah, we should keep doing further episodes. We should wrap this one up.
Okay. All right. Well, how long do you think it'll be before we run our course on this? I think we do it at least episode 13.
2 or 3 more. Yeah. Do you know this is actually
why don't you tell me anyway?
This is a good note to end on, because it just so happens we didn't plan it this way, and it doesn't really mean anything anyway. But this is, you and I, my friend, our 9-year Facebook anniversary.
I saw that. Episode 9 on the 9-year anniversary.
Yeah. We've actually known each other for like 20 years, but our Facebook anniversary is today.
Yeah, first time I encountered you was on the DOS set server back in late autumn, probably autumn of 1996.
Yeah,
because
that's right. Yeah.
I attended, my first year of college was 95, 96, and Patrick's website was just one page. It was actually a web page. And then when
Yeah.
I came back after the summer, he made an actual site and different things were on different pages. It wasn't all together. And he had the message board and the chat server. And that's where we first encountered each other. Or Jack and
Yeah.
Nightwing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Names
And
names that were turned out to be very, very polarizing on that site before it was all said and done.
yes. Yeah, I
I
mean,
was a little bit bad about Patrick wanting to share his love of Batman and getting got in the middle of all the drama that all of us ended up creating for around him.
yeah, Patrick was such a nice guy, and he really he didn't deserve us. He deserved better than us. Yeah,
Kinda,
but yeah,
yeah.
so
He didn't want to have to deal with the crap that a lot of us ended up bringing in.
yeah, we were a
He never
handful.
soft pedaled it at that point.
No. It's weird. I've gone through kind of an arc where back then I didn't really soft pedal things. And then I said, well, I should soft pedal things. And now I'm coming back to, at least with some things, I'm like, no, I shouldn't soft pedal those things. You know, I have like a select group of things that I just want to fucking set fire to. So I'm an amalgam now.
But hi, Patrick, and thanks. I know you're not watching, but thanks anyway.
Oh, God, please don't be watching this, Patrick. You have a family, so I'm told.
I think that was a running gag he never appreciated either.
No.
You always pretended you didn't quite believe he had a family.
He's for some reason he did not appreciate my my humorous skepticism about the existence of his family.
Yeah.
I wonder why he didn't find that hilarious.
That's the sort of thing you would soft pedal a lot more now than you did back then.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think now if I even tried it and I it seemed like he didn't like it, I would just drop it. But yeah, I would be like, okay, he doesn't like that. I won't do that anymore.
Back then, this is funny, Devin. I go keep pushing it until it becomes funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Funny.
If you start with a joke that's not funny, you beat it into the ground until everybody laughs just out of sheer exhaustion. And then it's funny, and then you win because that's what it's about. It's about winning.
Like the "wanna smoke my pole" references.
Oh yeah. That's just we'll just do it until it's funny.
Didn't Letterman try that with a number of things, and then eventually to certain ones he would admit, you know what, this just ain't working.
Yeah, that was like his go-to move. He would just fucking grab something and never refuse to let it go.
But I also like the fact that if something really wasn't working, like they were doing a bit and it wasn't working, he would just ad lib. He would just say, you know what, he would admit it was bad, and he would go in a different direction. And all the producers, like, God, no, not again.
Yeah.
It's like, where's he going now?
I remember there was real quick, and then we will end the show. I remember a bit he did a bit where he was getting that night's top 10 list out of a vending machine, and they had like the card was like in like the snack vending machine with the little coils that turn, and it's supposed to drop down, and he pushes the button and it gets stuck and it won't come out, and like they can't move on with the bit until he gets the card. And so he's like standing there he's sort of looking off camera like, what do we do? And finally he says, well, I guess we should just turn the son of a bitch over. So yeah, that's sort of.
I remember him doing like fake court TV things with Miravar and Cyrajul, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And they did 2 or 3 in the one night, and they just weren't working at all. And so the next night, he threw another one out there, and it comes back, and it's not funny. And he's just sitting there sort of scowling, and he gives an embarrassed look at the camera and goes, I thought it might be funnier tonight. It wasn't.
You take a chance.
Yep. All right, so we're going to wrap up here and get on with our days, and let the people who have not tuned out yet to get on with their days too, which I think there might be 3 or 4 of them. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a few people still watching. I don't know why.
I don't know.
Thank you for those of you still watching live. I
don't go to the thing that shows how many are viewing live because I don't want this playing in the background while I'm trying to do it. That would be distracting.
Yeah, exactly. And oh man, that thing I just said was bad.
And clog up the bandwidth too.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're gonna
videos at a time.
we're gonna wrap this up. We'll do this again next month. We'll see if Pierre shows up.
What do you think the name of the hurricane will be that we'll be talking about this time that the disaster relief is not going well?
Oh boy,
what letter will we be up to?
Let's see.
Figure 3-4 weeks.
We just did N, right?
Right.
OPQ, maybe Quincy.
Do they do Q? I think they skip a couple letters.
They
I think Q
they
is one of the ones they skip.
They don't do Q. Okay, Reginald.
Okay.
Rodrigo.
So,
I don't know.
R will be the R hurricane.
Hurricane R. That's probably being optimistic. We'll probably be back around to A again.
Yeah, that happened. That happened once a couple of years ago. They reached the last one, and from there it was hurricane or tropics from Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta.
Yeah, they do Greek alphabet. Yeah. Well,
all right. Hey. And on that enlightening note, now you know that worst case scenario, we'll get to the Greek alphabet in hurricane and storm names.
Bring on Hurricane Epsilon. See you next month.
It's like, dear God, we're up to Zeta.
Yeah. Oh my God, what do we do now? Jewish alphabet.
Russian alphabet. Trump's president.
Russian. Yeah, Trump wouldn't like using the Jewish alphabet.
No. All right.
On that totally note, not anti-Semitic. Okay. Yeah. On that note.
On that helpful note, have we got everyone who's still watching to leave yet?
And everybody's gone. No, there are still people watching, believe it or not. All right, but they're not. They're about to not be watching because we're going to stop. So, okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll do this again next month.
Yep.
Bye.